Welcome to today's program. In this first episode of a special multi-part leadership series, we're going to explore a challenge nearly every business owner eventually faces. The transition from being the one who does everything to becoming the leader who guides everything. So this series will draw directly from the insights gathered during a recent business retreat where business owners crafted goals and participated in candid roundtable discussions. Well, that retreat is over, but with me is someone who was there. Chuck Violand, how are you?
Jeff, I'm great. How are you?
Doing good here. This retreat, this is something you've done before, correct?
I've done them for a lot of years. I'm thinking probably 35 years. I've done business planning retreats. They're
All
bigger
right.
now, Jeff.
Tell us about them, why they're so important for those who attend.
Well, the business planning retreats. And if you own a business, it's always best to operate from a plan. And so for like 35 years, we've gotten uh, different businesses to come together and write their plans through a process that we've developed over the years. This past year, we had, I'm going to say, close to 200 companies, maybe a bit shy of that, and just about 300 people at the three different programs that we do. We do three of them a year, and so just to accommodate the crowd. So, but you write your business plan for the following year.
Doesn't sound like something you can do watching a YouTube video.
Jeff, not only is it something you can't do watching a YouTube video, it's something you rarely can do in your own office, which is why we go to remote locations to do these. When you've got everybody coming into your office asking you questions all day long, you're constantly thinking about operating the business. Pretty hard to sit down and forecast out over the horizon to think strategically. So that's why we do it that way. Gives the attendees an opportunity to network with each other and to
Mhm.
pick each other's brains on what works for them. So, yeah.
Well, you're getting good results. People are coming, they're finding the value in it, so that's cool. But let's dig into something here. We're going to set up a challenge for our viewers here at the end, so stick
We
with us
are.
on that.
This will be
But this
fun.
this the retreat, you had a breakout session that was gave you some perspective into what is important to those attending. Talk about the breakout session and what you observed.
Yeah. Jeff, typically we do breakout sessions at these retreats. Now, they're multi-day retreats. So we do a breakout session every day. And in the past, what's happened is that the consultants at VMA or some of our sponsor partners would do a breakout session on a specific topic related to small businesses. We wanted to switch it up a little bit this year. So rather than having them look like mini lectures, what we did was we wanted to just have discussion groups. And so the people that were running them, the individual sessions, we acted as facilitators, and people could choose which ones they wanted to go to. At each retreat, there were four of them going at the same time. And over 3 days, you get a chance to see all the different breakout sessions. So that's what we did. We wanted to find out, get people's opinions, let them discuss these topics among themselves, learn from each other. So essentially, they became the teachers. We became the facilitators. Pretty cool stuff.
So it does sound cool. So during these or breakout sessions, what was really interesting about this latest retreat that you noticed and you felt was powerful?
Well, I can't speak for the other breakouts because I was able to go to them on the days that I wasn't doing mine. I mean, people break up into these different groups. So each group had, sometimes 30, 35 people in them, sometimes as small as a dozen. But what they did, you really got to hear from the people on the things that are most important to them, the struggles that they're having on the specific topic that was being discussed in that roundtable. But you also got to hear about the things that seemed to be working for them so that they could share that with the other people in those breakout sessions. I can speak to mine. Again, as you had mentioned, mine was moving from a can do it mindset to a conduit mindset. Most business owners are can do it people. You need something done, we do it. We think operationally. And in the early years of our businesses, that's great. We need to do that. But as your business succeeds as you're no longer focusing on having to meet a payroll or you're obsessed on earning a profit over the next couple months because you've kind of gotten that down. Now you start questioning things and you start questioning what's important to you. You start questioning the sacrifices that you made in order to achieve the success. In many cases, Jeff, what I was finding was that what I found over the years is that business owners started questioning the very definition of success itself. And so I thought it would be good to just get everybody's input. I know what I had in my experience having owned businesses almost all of my adult life, but I wanted to hear what other people were having and then just be able to share those experiences.
So, from a note you sent to me earlier, there was a specific question that came up in your breakout session that I thought was interesting. Talk about that, what that is.
Yeah, actually, I asked a series of questions. So I had a bunch of questions already lined up that I was going to ask if I got through them. I didn't get through all of them all the time. But the first question I asked at every one of them that I did, and I did 5 breakout sessions over the 3 sessions, over the 3 business planning retreats. And at each one of these, I started with the question. I thought I would set the stage with it. How do you define the word elder? And I will admit that secretly, I was wondering how many people would just immediately go to older. And I was kind of surprised that that was not the case. Um, but I thought the definitions that people had were really outstanding. And they came up with a lot of really good input, different terms that they used. There were certain terms that repeated themselves. You had like integrity, leader, wisdom, mentor. A lot of people were using those terms, but there were also somebody quoted Richard Branson one time that says a mentor is somebody who leads. Another one said that it's somebody who is wise beyond their years. So, but it caused everybody to start thinking about the actual role of being an elder and what it meant to them. Jeff, I will tell you that by the end of the sessions that I was doing, I think one of the things that I observed was that a lot of people in the sessions had made a mental shift, and suddenly they realized that not because of their age, and not even because of the title that they have, but because of the leadership role that they have in the company, that in many cases they are an elder. They're perceived as an elder by other people within their organization. And you could see that shift take place as you looked in their eyes.
When you asked that question, were you afraid they're going to point at you, Chuck?
There were some laughs. I
Yeah,
will
I
admit
imagine.
that. It was fun.
Yeah. That's important. You're going to learn, you're going to learn business and better business practices while you enjoy the time there.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
So
I
I'll tell you
wondered where you're going
what,
to go with that. How do you define the word elder? I'm like, but it makes sense. It's not about age or gray hair. It's about experience and where you are, and I like that wisdom and different other aspects of understanding. That's
Jeff,
important.
there were a couple of them that mentioned, and specifically to that point, that mentioned that they had worked for bosses who were younger than them, yet many of them were wise beyond their years. And so while they were reporting to somebody younger than them, they still viewed them and some of their things as an elder.
Makes
And
sense.
I think one of the things that came out, maybe I was just reading into it, but I think by the responses, by the end of the sessions, you could see that they were viewing their role differently. And I want to say almost with a greater sense of responsibility to the people within their organizations.
That's what you wanted, right?
Well, that's what I was hoping for.
Mhm.
And I was very gratified to walk away with that.
It must be a little bit concerning in a way when you have a business retreat or any kind of meeting where you're bringing people together that they don't get it, that they're not getting the full benefit of the experience.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what. I had a preconceived notion of how I thought these things were going to go, how I thought people would answer the questions. And I was thrilled to see that sometimes they just went off in a direction that I was not anticipating, but it was one that they were experiencing or had experienced. That was the key part. And then you'd see them interact with each other, saying yes or no, I had this experience. It was really great.
And you sit back with your cup of coffee and just enjoy the experience when they're doing that.
E- exactly right.
Mhm.
Exactly right.
Yeah. So we're at that point where I think we're going to lead into our next episode by leaving some questions for people to
Yeah.
ponder on. Is that correct?
Yes, indeed.
I'm going to let you talk about that. Go ahead.
All right. Well, yeah, I think in the first place, for those of you watching this video, ask yourself that question as far as an elder goes. How would you define the word elder? And have you viewed yourself, regardless of your age, regardless of the age of your business, as an elder within your own organization? So that I think would be fun for them to do that. Then I think next, Jeff, in the next session, again, I asked 6 questions. I had 6 questions prepared. I didn't always get to ask all 6. But I thought the next 2 questions that we would discuss here is how has your definition of success for the business changed as you've gotten older and as your business has gotten older? So I'll repeat that. How has your definition of success for the business changed as you've gotten older? And then the next question that I think that we'd want to ask is, what tasks or decisions have been the hardest for you to let go of and why? So give yourself some time to think through those 2 questions. When we get together on the next video, I'll let you know what the folks in the breakout session said, and you can see how your answers stand up to those.
Boy, this is going to be fun,
I
Chuck.
think
I
so.
think it's going to be fun. Yeah, so we'll see if any comment early, but we'll come back here and we'll talk about the results of your session. I'm looking forward to hearing what they said. It's
Me,
always interesting to hear business owners and high-level managers talk about business and getting their perspectives because it may not be in tune or in line with what we're thinking.
and Jeff, this is, if I could just real quick make a comment here. I think many times business owners are perceived differently by the people who report to them than they perceive themselves. And one of the things that I saw happening, and we can talk more about this in the future episodes, throughout these sessions that I did, was they got very introspective. And you could see the emotion in some of their answers. And that was particularly gratifying.
All right, Chuck, I look forward to the follow-up on this and the series that we're developing here until you run out of questions. Maybe you never will.
Lots of questions, Jeff.